Hi everyone and welcome to Portal to the Paranormal. My name is Sarah and you're watching Thriller Thursday. Tonight, this evening, should I say, we are chatting with a very intelligent fellow from the paranormal world. Our guest is currently studying a PhD at Robert Gordon University, exploring media and practices of the modern paranormal groups. He is the creator of the Great British and the Great American Ghost Tours, known for his Ghost Hunt website, and a regular contributor to the Ghost Chronicles International radio show. Also, might I say, he is a huge Ghostbusters fan, but we'll tell you more about that later. Also, those of you watching at home, if you would like to ask Dylan, ask a question, write them in the comments, and we will read them out when possible. So we would like to welcome everyone, Mr. Dylan Jones. I'm just going to add him to stream.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm excited to have you. Really honoured to have you, actually.
Yeah, the intelligent bloke that you mentioned couldn't make it, so I'll have to fill in.
Well, you got far more brain than I have. I can barely remember my name sometimes.
You can join the club on that one. Sometimes I barely string a sentence together.
Well, it's fabulous to have you on our show. I really appreciate it. I have got a big list of questions here. I love the old highlighters, as you can see. You okay to answer some?
Go for it. Let's see if it's as painless as possible.
Alrighty then. So the famous question of all, which is the question that you will never get this because no one's ever asked you this question. It is, let's start at the very beginning, shall we? And what interested you in the paranormal? How did it all begin for you, Dylan?
Right, well, let's go back to when I was a very young boy, about 22 years ago. A bit more than that. Actually, there was two things that happened during my childhood, which really sort of were of great importance to me in terms of relation to the paranormal. The first was an anomalous experience I had when I was about 7-8 years old. My uncle had died shortly after my 7th birthday, and we were incredibly close. I looked up to him. He was a policeman, he was a dog handler, somebody that were very close to in the family. And his death hit me hard, and I woke up in the middle of the night some months later and could have sworn I saw him standing in the bedroom doorway and then slowly fading away. And at that point I called for my mum. So that was the first thing. Now that can be explained. There are psychological explanations. There's hypnagogic and hypnopompic experiences when you're going to sleep or waking up from a dreamlike state, and that's what could explain it. So I'm open-minded as to what that cause could be. So that was the first thing. And the second thing was late 1984, when I was 9 years old. There were these posters of a red circle with a line through it and what looked like a ghost in it on bus stops, and I was like, oh, what's this? And then seeing the adverts on TV and like on packs of shreddies that Ghostbusters was coming out. And so I pestered my mum for months to go and take me to see this at the cinema. And it was going to see it. I can still vividly remember that day going to watch it and being in the cinema. And when the theme tune started, everybody in the cinema was singing along to Ray Parker Jr.'s song. And it was all of that. And I was absolutely, that's it. I was absolutely hooked. And it was from there that I was like, oh, Ghostbusters, I'm just fascinated. So I started asking people, firstly, family, whether they'd had experiences. And from that, my mum told me about an experience that she had when she was about 17 years old. And that's what really got me into it all. So it was the two formative experiences, the possibly paranormal one and the media one. And so that was the start of where everything has led to today.
It's been an inspiration, hasn't it, Ghostbusters, for many a ghost hunter. Hence my tattoo.
You've gone one step further than I am braver to do. I've never got a tattoo.
Oh, well, maybe you should if you love them so much. You can get them put across your heart, maybe. I love the Ghostbusters. Could you please tell us more about your PhD? Are you still studying or have you finished studying?
But the PhD, it's I don't know how much people understand about what happens when you do a PhD. So when you go to university, the first time you do your degree, you do have lots of lectures, and you do your modules, and you end up writing a dissertation. And depending on the subject area that you're doing, it could be between 3,000 and 10,000 words. And from there, you get your degree. Well, I got my degree in media production from Derby in 2016, and I left it a few years to decide: do I want to take the next step, go and take the step on to doing a PhD? Because PhD, it's a philosophy doctorate, and it's about an independent piece of research. So you have supervisors. You choose the subject, the area that you want to specialize in, and the project that you want to do. And then it's up to you. You have to go ahead, you have to design it, you have to research it. And I decided to start mine 2 years ago. Now you have two options. Do you do it full time, which takes 3 years? Do you do it part time, which I have to do because I have a job? I'm doing it over 6 years. So it's more of a marathon than a sprint. Now, I know I have to write about 100,000 words about my independent research project. So I spent a lot of time thinking about what project I wanted to look at, what was it I was going to study. So I went back to my media production dissertation, which was the media portrayal of scientific practice in paranormal programs. And I really wanted to take that further and go on to the next level. So the difference between like 4,000 word dissertation and 100,000 word thesis is quite a lot, as you can imagine. So it's about, the first 2 years has been what they call a literature review. So reading lots and lots of books about the things that I'm exploring. So I'm looking at things like media influence. I'm looking at professionalism. I'm looking at ethnography, which is the kind of process that I'm actually going through, which is ethnography is a method of studying something. So it's basically spending time with lots of people, observing them, interviewing them, looking at content analysis, which is viewing lots of media, reading lots of books about ghost hunting and ghost hunters, listening to any form of media that's like podcasts, reading magazines, all those kinds of things, studying the content of them. And then seeing whether or not there's any influence between that and the people who go ghost hunting. So 2 years of reading about all of that. Yeah. So I've already read hundreds of books. I've written 40,000 words over that period alone. Now the next 2 years is what for me is the really interesting bit, is the actual field studies, where I'm actually going out, spending time with ghost hunting groups, understanding, getting them to tell me what it is that they're doing, why they're doing it, and getting to a real understanding and appreciation of why they do what they do, how they do what they do. And then the next 2 years after that is having gathered that data, is interpreting the data and understanding it and seeing what findings I've got from that. So that's the PhD, as explained as briefly as possible. And then hopefully turning it into a book.
Oh, yeah, about all what you've learned and everything. Is it all about parascience, or is it also about everything? The Victorian methods, the psychic medium side of things?
I'm not. I'm studying media effects. So what media you, for example, are consuming,
right?
And is that influencing in any way what you do when you go investigating?
Oh, okay.
So I'm not trying to prove that ghosts exist.
No.
That's if you went to a university and said, I want to prove that ghosts exist, or I want to prove that they don't exist, they're not going to actually probably give you much assistance in that way, because it's too big a question. It's just huge. So what they want to do is take a particular subject area. So like if you said you wanted to do EVP, which a colleague of mine, Anne Winsper, she did electronic voice phenomena, but she looked at the psychological aspect of it. So from the psychologist's point of view, what is there about EVP? So she got her doctorate last year. So it's mine is literally about looking at media effects and the way investigators behave and practice what they do when they go ghost hunting.
Okay. Oh.
Not to say it's right or wrong. That's not what
No.
I'm doing. I'm
No.
understanding what it is they're doing and why.
I guess it helps as well with having experiences yourself. But are you more skeptical? Do you think the mind is a wonderful thing and can just create that veil of illusion and make you think and feel what you want to think and feel?
I am very, very open-minded.
Good.
When we were at, I mean, obviously, I met you a few weeks ago when we were at the Festival of the Unexplained at Bosworth, which was a great weekend. And for the first time, I met a lovely guy called Neil Story, who was their historian. And he said something to me, which I thought was quite profound, was that academics and scientists have not been kind to the ghost hunting community. They certainly haven't been kind to a lot of parapsychologists over the years. You know, parapsychologists, we've had some real stick. We've had some real high-level criticism. And, you know, some of it has been necessary, and I agree with it. But there's been others which you think, well, you know, that isn't fair. We haven't been given a fair crack of the whip. So I'm very open-minded when it comes to people's experiences. I've had one. I don't know whether it's paranormal or not, but I've met a lot of other people who I consider to be very credible witnesses, seem very trustworthy and honest, and they've had experiences, and those experiences deserve to be understood, examined, and investigated.
What is your experience with psychic mediums then? Do you feel sometimes they're right on the ball, or do you feel that they can read you?
Good question. I haven't met one yet that I have been impressed with. And there's a number of reasons why. The first one I ever really come across, I was about 18, 19 years old, doing an investigation at a pub near Cardiff. And this medium was sat down and she was saying about, oh, I can feel the energy and that there's a draft, you know, I can feel the presence. And I was like, yeah, but you do know that there's a broken window behind you and I can feel the draft coming in. And it was like, you know, and I've come across several over the years. And there's nothing that has been said where it hasn't been, you could say it was cold reading. So it's very difficult as well, because I get a lot of family and friends saying to me, oh, we went to a medium. What do you think about them? And I said, well, you need to look at the methodology that they're using. A lot of the things they say are generalistic. You need to come back with the data of what they've actually said. So if I was going to go to a medium, I'd want a full recording of what was said verbatim, so I can go through it and see whether or not when you mark it, that was totally wrong, partially accurate, completely accurate, no way of knowing, and then looking to see whether or not statistically they've actually scored above the level of chance. And of course, it's ruling out, have they got that information through other means? And today, with the way that social media is, it's very easy to find out something about somebody.
Sorry, it's my dog just choking. I think she's been cough. Sorry.
I thought there was something from the other side then.
No, it's not paranormal. Well, I might have to scrap my next question actually, because I was going to ask you. You've been in the police force. You was a police officer for over 30 years.
17.
17?
17 years, yeah.
Oh, I've got that wrong.
Don't age me that much.
You're not that old, are you?
No, I feel it, but I'm not.
I don't know where I copied that from. Sorry. So I was going to ask you. There is rumors and things like that. The police do use psychic mediums in investigations to try and track down and solve cases. Is that true in your knowledge?
No.
No.
I've never, certainly in the force that I was in, I was never aware of any colleague of mine, and I certainly never did it, approach a psychic or a medium for help. Now, I'm not saying that that's not the case for other forces or other officers. In my experience, never.
No.
It certainly wouldn't be something that would be admissible in court. So there are people who claim that, oh, I'm a medium. Like, you know, I've seen it online. I'm a medium, and I know that I've been asked. I've got no way of verifying that other than what they're saying, other than their word. But I have no personal direct knowledge of that happening.
And you might not be able to answer the second question either. Is anything, while you was a police officer, any creepy cases that, you know, attend, like UFOs or, you know, beam me up, Scotty? Really? Oh, good.
Yep.
Well, do tell. Please
Yep.
tell.
Yeah. Well, there were a few actually. Now, I was stationed in the South Wales Valleys. That's where I spent most of my service. And one of the police stations on our patch, actually two of them, the one I was stationed in and the one further up the valley, both had a reputation for being haunted. Now, the station I was in, Bargoed, was a very old police station. And on one or two occasions, colleagues did report seeing as if a shadow would walk past one of the doors during the night. Now, I never saw anything, but I know a couple of colleagues have said that they did. Now, at Pondlottin police station, which was a very old station and used to have cells and a courtroom on it, and apparently that was where the last person to be hanged in Wales was taken from, down to Cardiff to be hung. And a lot of the police officers would not go in there after dark because they heard footsteps upstairs walking around. And we're talking. I mean, I'm 5'8", you know, I'm talking about big burly police officers who are 6'6", you know, and too frightened to go in. But there are other stories. I can remember being on a morning shift once, sat at the briefing table at about 6:45, the radio going off and the control room saying that a local resident had phoned 999 because he'd sat up in bed and saw a figure walk through his bedroom wall, cross the bedroom in front of him at the bottom of the bed and disappear through the other wall.
Oh my goodness.
So, you know, when he thought, who do I call? His first thought was, oh, the police will come and sort that out. I asked my sergeant, Sarge, can I go? And he was like, no, you're not going. No, come on, please. No.
That would have been mixing the question in, wouldn't it?
But there are, I'm aware of a number of other examples of where police officers on duty had seen things when they were out on patrol. Like there's a report of a figure, possibly what looks like a monk, on the road towards Abergavenny in South Wales that I know motorists had seen, and two police officers reported seeing it a number of years ago. And two British Transport police officers also reported personally to me that they had seen a figure crossing the dual carriageway not far from Caerphilly in South Wales when they were on a night shift. So,
wow.
You know, there are lots of cases out there.
Oh, wow. That would be amazing, especially when several people have seen it as well.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I ever saw, and that was due to tiredness, was, you know, when you're working nights, things do look like they're moving and they're not, but that's what it looks like.
Oh, gosh. It's amazing. So, another question I'd like to ask you is about the Great British Ghost Tour and the Great American Ghost Tour. Can you please enlighten our viewers and myself? I did have a little butchers at that, and it was amazing. It was like all you need to know about the areas A to Z and things like that. You've even got vampires and flipping werewolves on there and white ladies, and you just click on it and it tells you all sorts. And but you tell the viewers, because I'd like them to know out of your.
That is a bit of a sort of a passion project for me, and sadly I haven't updated either of them for about 18 months, 2 years, because this thing called PhD is getting in the way of it. But back in, I've always had a fascination for history and hauntings and the culture of, that we've got in the UK. We've got a fantastic haunted heritage to be proud of. Now, whether you believe in ghosts or not, it doesn't matter. The fact is that we've got this heritage. And, when I was growing up, I used to read so many ghost books. I mean, you can see a few behind me, but I've got 1,500 around me in the office.
Jeez.
Of ghost stories and ghost books from all over the world. That's one of the things I've collected since childhood. So what I decided to do one day was that, I'll start a website. And the reason being was that when I back in, I got injured when I was on duty, and back in about 2009, the injury really started to cause some serious problems for me. So I was forced to take probably 5 or 6 months off because it started off I couldn't walk. So what else was I going to do? So I thought this would be a good time to just take my mind off the injury and plough my efforts into creating what turned out to be the Great British Ghost Tour. So it's literally a virtual tour around all different counties in the United Kingdom, and gives you a flavour of all the different types of phenomena that are out there, places you can go and visit. I've always tried to reference back to the source material, so it'll a brief description about what's been seen or heard, but then if it's in one of Peter Underwood's books, go and read that for the full story, or go and look out at Anthony Hippersey Cox's Haunted Britain, or Richard Jones's books, or whoever the authors are, to go and check them out, because you can't beat picking up one of the books and reading through it. But it's enough just to give you a bit of a flavour to want to find more. And then sort of a few years down the line from starting that one, I thought, well, I'll do an American one, because I quite like the way the Americans have a take on their haunted heritage. There are similarities to ours because of, obviously, America was created from people from Europe settling there, and we took a lot of our things out there, and they were founded in America, but they've got their own differences as well. They've got their crybaby bridges and things like that. So that was the Great American Ghost Tour was formed from that, and it's been fun in the past updating them, but it's like anything else. Once you start something, it's a big commitment, and sadly, it's not something I've been able to keep up with. I've had to put it on ice, while I'm doing the PhD, because I literally have not got the time to be able to devote to it.
So you haven't explored any of these places. Well, would you like to explore some of these places personally?
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
If I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd be off. That's what I would be doing.
Well, I don't know how far Wales is from Southampton, but we do Margam Castle. You're very welcome to come on some of our investigations, and you might be able to fulfill your dreams and write about them. Actually, you could do some studying with us as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, Margam is fantastic. It's a brilliant place. Have you been?
Yeah, a few times. Yeah, it's lovely.
It's incredible.
The staircase is amazing.
Yeah. It's one of those things you think, my goodness, what did this place actually look like if it hadn't caught fire? It would have been absolutely incredible.
Yeah. It's just a shame it's like an empty shell inside. I would love to have seen it with all the fixtures and fittings, and it would have been beautiful. Well, it is beautiful, but it's extra beautiful when it's got it all there, isn't it?
Oh, it's incredible.
Ghost Hunter website. The Ghost Hunter website, should I say. That was Steve, Anne, and James and yourself. Did you guys create this? It's like all you need to know about ghost hunting kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we started, and a lot of the content is as a result of what Steve has put together. And it was based very much around his book, Ghostology, which is, give it a quick plug.
I saw him on your documentary. Is that the guy with the glasses, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Ghostology is actually, there's a revised edition which has just come out. And it was an idea about just a bit more of a background as to the things that we do, and tells you a little bit about us.
There's some links there, equipment, investigation. So you guys, did you investigate together? And Parascience.
Yeah, Parascience was founded about 30 years ago by Steve Parsons and Anne Winsper. Anne, who I mentioned earlier, she's just got her PhD. She's now a doctor. So she got psychology and study of EVP. Steve is currently getting towards the end of his PhD. He's a physicist, and he's been looking at infrasound in haunted locations. And they're two wonderful people. They're very good friends. They're good colleagues. They've done some fascinating work, and I can't really vouch for them highly enough, because especially Ghostology as a book, that's really one of the best books that you can go to as about ghost hunting.
Infrasound, in layman's terms, is that when you like create a EVP, should I say, and you play it back on the computer, or you study the sound or the sound waves? I'm only guessing.
No, infrasound is, I hope I'm getting this right now because I'm not a physicist.
Okay.
You know, my background is media, sociology, anthropology side of things. Anne's is psychology, Steve's is physics. So, you know, he knows everything about measuring and equipment and everything based around physics, and infrasound is his baby. So my understanding, infrasound is below our range of hearing. So ultrasound's above, infrasound is below.
Right.
And it has some rather interesting effects. Now, it can occur naturally and man-made. So I think the way Steve explained to me the once, you know, when you're driving along in the car and you sat there, pleasant drive, one of the kids in the back opens the window,
Yeah,
and you get that sound in the back, and you're like, oh, lighten the window up. That is infrasound. That's making you feel very uncomfortable. And it occurs naturally and man-made. So if you're in a building, it could be air moving down a corridor. You step into a room and you go, oh, I don't like it in here. I feel uncomfortable. Oh, what's causing that? That could be infrasound. Now, Steve has done experiments at Mary King's Close with equipment and looking at things and finding places where perhaps mediums or psychics were going in, saying they were picking up on a feeling of not feeling right or uncomfortable. And that's where the areas of infrasound were. So was the medium picking up on infrasound because they're more sensitive to it, or were they picking up on ghosts?
But there's also the electromagnetic force, which we use all the time on the K2 meters. And we've been in graveyards and places where it wouldn't be any electricity. So would that be also something that they would be studying, that kind of thing?
They would, but if you read this...
that would explain everything.
Which brings me on to one of the most interesting things about why I'm studying the ghost hunters. Because they don't read.
No, we don't. No, we just go out there and do it.
Which is fascinating, because how do you learn to do it if you're just going and doing it and not finding out what people have done before you?
Oh, but learning is doing as well.
Yeah, but if people have already done it,
Oh.
and they can tell you that, you know, if I were to ask you the K2 meter, okay, yep, does it measure amplitude or frequency?
I don't know. I know if you drill through a wall and, you know, you put it up to like some sort of electrical cable, and you're a bit buggered if you drill through the wall if the lights are coming on red. That's about it.
But I'm going to play devil's advocate now. I'm going to be really naughty, and because it's my job, basically, is it?
Okay.
Yeah. But if you don't know how it works, why are you using it?
Oh no, but I know that it picks up electromagnetic force, and I assume that's something electrical. And if you go near it with like a phone or something with a battery, the lights will go up.
But why would you use it in ghost hunting?
Because apparently, what I've learned from Ghostbusters is that is that they pick it up. They use it. They drain all your batteries. They use it as energy. They use it as energy to be able to move stuff and communicate and talk to us.
Says who?
And actually, you can have a conversation with ghosts on a K2 meter. Excuse me. If you ask it to light it up to red or amber, and then say you've got a cat ball the other side or like a REM pod, and ask it to switcheroo on each one, that has happened. And you can't, it's hard to explain that. So can you go to the K2? Are you a male? Go to the K2 or go to the REM pod and it'll light up. So it's all very, very strange.
So how do you know it's a ghost?
Oh, I've asked it. I've shouted out. I said, are you a ghost?
So if you think that ghosts exist, do you think that telepathy exists?
Telepathy.
So what's to say that you're not causing the EMF meter to fluctuate or the REM pod to go off?
Oh, we're getting into a whole different ball game now. Haven't I got to use 20% of my brain to do something like that, like dolphins?
This is the point, is that when you design an experiment, you have to know how everything works.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, if somebody says, well, how can you prove, like court of law evidence, how can you prove that's what it is? And this is why a lot of scientists won't listen, is because there's no structure. There's no. How many times does a ghost hunting group go back and write up a full report about what they've done? Because one of the things that scientists look to do is replicate or repeat what another scientist has done to see whether or not they've got it right. So if I was to come along 6 months later and go, right, this group were at Margam, what did they do? I've got no way of knowing. I've got no way of checking what methodology they've used, how they've gathered the data, which brings back to the K2. How do you record the data that you've got?
We film it. We do it on the wash up. We have witnesses.
But that's not recorded anywhere.
People physically see it happen.
But it's not recorded anywhere.
Oh.
It's like if you say you're a police officer, right? And you were wanting to, say you stopped somebody who you could smell alcohol in their breath. So you've got evidence to think, right, okay, they've had a drink. What do they use? They use an intoxilizer meter. So to give the test, it comes back positive, take them back to the police station, you put them on a more accurate machine. So that machine then will tell the officer how much they've had to drink and whether they are over the limit. Okay. So there are a number of stages there. Firstly, you want to know that the officer has done what he's supposed or she is supposed to do. They followed correct procedure.
Yeah.
The equipment they've used is accurate. So it has to be able to be calibrated. So then if there's anything wrong, every so often the machines are checked, calibrated to make sure they're still working. You cannot calibrate a K2 meter. So if it's had a slight knock, that could be giving you all sorts of erroneous readings and you wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's the actual data is stored. So everything is recorded. The officer has written up what they've done, when they've done it. It's timed, it's dated. You've got a statement. You've actually got a structure and a record of everything that's been done. So when it goes to court, the court can completely see what stages have been taken and the evidence has been gathered in the correct way and it's all recorded so they can reach a proper conclusion. And that is what, I always say to people, I love it that people go ghost hunting. I think it's fantastic. It's brilliant. The problem is when it comes to actually presenting a case for what they've got, that's where they're falling down. It's because they're not recording what they've done. And the trouble is we're being critical because we have to be critical. Because
I understand that.
We want, if people are going to present evidence, then it has to be presented in a way that other people 10 months, 10 years down the line can still go, I can see what they've done and I've understood why they've done it.
Yeah. We have a situation at Merley House, which occurs all the time. And these are different guests coming in and out. And it does come across a story. We don't influence the story at all about certain names. And the guests, they pick up on a William. Well, I shouldn't really say it out loud. For example, should I say, they pick up on the same story line and different guests coming in and out. And sometimes we think, that could be something to do with their psyche, So we do tell our guests that certain people have a certain amount of psychic ability. And it's strange. It's also when we go on these ghost hunts as well, we have a wash up at the end of the day where we tell each other, we've all got different groups. There could be like 30 of us and we split them into 10. And some of the evidence that come back, yes, they could have Googled it, but sometimes there's one name or one scenario that has come through and everybody has got the same thing, but we've all stayed in our own groups and we haven't exchanged information. So it's very interesting when these occurrences do happen. And and it's fun as well, especially if you see a ghost or something whispers in your ear or touches you. But I do feel like the hype of it all as well, the fear factor, it gets everybody going as well.
Oh, definitely does. And I mean, but there are a number of academics who look at, and I'm just saying what they've said, that what has happened is that people who go ghost hunting now are just simply legend tripping. They're thrill seeking on a massive scale, because they're not actually, putting together a proper scientific investigation. It's literally, let's turn up on a place it's supposed to be haunted and using all the equipment and just having a scary time. How do you counteract that with what you've done with evidence?
I think the ultimate evidence is to see a full-on MFG, really, isn't there? A ghost just stood there waving and smiling at, boom, there you go, I'm here. That is the ultimate. That is a golden flipping chalice right there, isn't it? That's what we're all seeking. Oh dear. Okay. Right. This is the biggest question ever, Dylan. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Go for it.
Okay. Are you being troubled by strange noises in the night? Do you experience feelings of dread in your basement or attic? Are you or any of your family members have ever seen a spook, spectre, or a ghost? So, who are you going to call?
Me. Oh, Ghostbusters.
That went really wrong. I'm no actress, am I really? I've been dying to ask you about this.
Oh, right. Okay.
So we got the Boo TV, which I watched your documentary on as well, and that was presented for the 31st anniversary of Sony Studios, wasn't it, in Los Angeles?
Yep.
But I would like you to tell us the rest of this fabulous, well, awesome achievement, should I say?
Thank you. Well, you might have guessed that I'm a bit of a Ghostbusters fan. You know, there's some things around, you know, that give it away. Yeah, back in 2019, it was the 35th anniversary of Ghostbusters, and it was decided that there was going to be a big celebration in Los Angeles, and they asked people, you know, who wants to go. So, you know, there were tickets available, and they offered, you know, it's typical sort of like a Comic Con. You can have different levels of ticket entry and what you could get for it. So, you know, I said to my wife, oh, I'd love to go, and she was like, look, this is what you love, do it. Don't worry about the cost, do it. You work, go. So I'm going to go. And then they said that what things they were looking to do. And they said they were looking to do some things on the paranormal and some, the links, because obviously the characters of Vankman, Stantz and Spangler were university parapsychologists. That's what that was their job until they got booted out. So I thought, well, I wonder what they're going to do. So I got in touch with them and said, look, I'm going to be going to this. What kind of parapsychology things do you want? And they said, well, we haven't got a clue. I said, well, I'm a parapsychologist. I know quite a few people in the field. Can I do something for you? And they were like, yes, please. So that's when I thought, right, let's put the media side to good practice. So I contacted Steve Parsons, Dr. Kieran O'Keefe at New Bucks University, who some of you might know from a certain program.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Most Haunted, you know, he was on that, as was Steve Parsons.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, and then you had Dr. Cal Cooper, who's a parapsychologist at the University of Northampton, who's doing some absolutely fascinating work on something called the Gansfeld experiment. So anybody wants to go and look up that and look up Cal, and you know, brilliant stuff. So I knew that the three of them were influenced when they were younger by the film. So that was the documentary. I decided to call it Back Off Man, I'm a Parapsychologist, which was a little slant on the famous line that Bill Murray says was back off man, I'm a scientist.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. And, you know, the 20-minute documentary is about how Ghostbusters got them to where they are today in terms of how it influenced their research and, you know, who their favorite Ghostbuster is, you know. And then I presented that at Sony Studios. I was fortunate enough to be put into one of the two theaters where they actually master all the sound and audio for the movies. So it was actually gorgeous cinema with lots of seats and beautiful. It was just stunning. The sound quality was incredible. So I got to present that 20 minutes to an audience and then answer questions about what it's like for me as a parapsychologist and them. And then do a second presentation on the ghosts of Ghostbusters, the fact versus the fiction. So what you're seeing on screen to what it's really like. I got to meet Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson. I got to meet Ivan Reitman, which was an absolute pleasure. And it's even more poignant now considering he passed away in February that I actually got a chance to meet him and say thank 100%. You to him. And we had a chat. Got to meet other members of the cast, and it was a absolutely brilliant time. Got to see the actual Ecto one, to be actually touch it, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is like, it was a boyhood dream come true. And from that, they kept in touch and said, well, as a result, thank you for doing that. So would you like tickets to see the new film, Ghostbusters Afterlife, when that
Oh
comes out?
yeah!
So I was like, wow. But of course, that all got delayed,
Yeah.
obviously because of COVID. But when we knew it was going to come out in November, I was absolutely panicking because I knew that the premiere date was the 15th of November. But of course, up until, just before, the flight ban was on, so we couldn't fly to America. But fortunately, it was lifted, and literally on the Monday they lifted it, and on the Friday I flew out to New York, had 8 nights in New York, went to the premiere, and the night before the premiere, one of the greatest experiences I've ever had was that we had a pre-premiere party. There was only 50 of us there, and it was a bar down in Chelsea in New York, and 2 of the producers turned up. So we were having a lovely chat with them, and then 10 minutes later, in walks Jason Reitman.
Jeez.
And he spent an hour getting around all of us, having a chat, and he was just so down to earth and so genuine, and really wanted us to enjoy what we were going to see the following night. And what was so brilliant was that after the film had finished, we were all in the foyer and people were coming out, and then Jason came out and he spoke to a couple of people. And because I was only one of 2 people from the UK that was there, he recognized us from the night before. He came straight over to me, hand on the shoulder, and said, "Did you enjoy it?" And I was like, "Yes, it was amazing." And he said, "Thanks so much for taking the trouble to come all the way to New York." And it was, he remembered, which you don't necessarily expect that from somebody like him, but he was a lovely guy. But can I say that I got about 6 feet away from Paul Rudd,
Jeez.
and he is not as good looking as what people say he is.
Apparently shorter as well.
Well, he's about 3'4". He's very, very overweight. And there's a lot of makeup and special effects. That he's not the most handsomest guy in the
I
world.
can believe it.
No, but it was great, and I got to meet McKenna Grace and Logan Kim.
It sat quite nicely next to the original 80s 2 movies, didn't it?
It did.
And did you cry at the end? Because I did.
Yeah, still do.
Yeah.
I'm a softie at heart. But no, I thought that I think they did what I think the fans wanted.
Yeah, definitely. And they
got
can carry on from that. Do you think there'll be a 4th one?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think
yeah, definitely.
The way it was poised at the end with the lights flashing on the containment unit, I think definitely.
Yeah. The legend can live on, can't it? The Ghostbuster legend can live on. Oh gosh. Oh, that was amazing. And did you go and see The Hook and Ladder by any chance?
Yeah.
I wanted to see that when I was in New York. The original.
Yeah, it's New York. I mean, as Winston says, I love this town. I mean,
I loved it.
Yeah, I loved New York. It was great. I got around quite a few of the locations. We went to Hook and Ladder. We even found the sort of, went to Dana Barrett's apartment and the church, which Mr. Stay Puft stood on, and they've repaired it lovely. We even found the apartment building where Dana is wheeling the pushchair in Ghostbusters 2, and down to the street where the pram runs out in front of. So we found those locations as well.
Is that like the old Twin Towers that overlooks the park? I went on a tour and they said it was like the old Twin Towers that the old. It's in apartments now, but it was shown in the Ghostbusters movie as the apartments for it.
Sure. The towers are in the footage, in the film, but the apartment where Dana lived in the second one is further. It's just to the right of Central Park.
Central Park, yeah.
Yeah, it's up there.
And they sit nicely next to each other, don't they? Is that what we're talking about?
No, the Twin Towers are down Lower Manhattan.
No, the original Twin Towers, not the ones that got. Yeah, no.
But New York is brilliant.
Amazing.
I actually got to do an investigation one night when I was there as well with a group of ghost hunters at the Morris Jamel Mansion, which is one of New York's oldest properties. So that was an interesting night.
Actually, I'd love to do. I mention this all the time. but there's a place in Chelsea called the American Gangster Museum. And Al Capone, he actually had like dynamite in the walls. He had a speakeasy down below. And I'm thinking that would be an awesome investigation to go down there. And the history of New York's amazing, isn't it? It's like the city of immigrants. It's where it all started. So you can imagine, especially outside, where's Macaulay Culkin? He stayed there, that big hotel. There's a graveyard. Pardon? There's a graveyard right outside, isn't there? You imagine all the people that passed through there.
I did a couple of ghost tours when I was in New York as well, so got to see some great tales from some really good guides going down to the parts where the Irish, the Italians, and the Chinese, sort of convergence of those particular neighborhoods, and going around Greenwich Village. I desperately want to go back to New York.
We're hoping to go next year and take the kids. I know it's a lot of walking and that, but I reckon I was a former, you might not think this, but I reckon I was a former New Yorker, because I seem to be able to find my way up and down and in and out of everywhere. There's a place called Cut Through Alley as well, isn't there, in Chinatown, where loads of people got slaughtered. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, you could spend months there and never see everything. I mean, it's a superb place.
Yeah, it's amazing. Was there any TV shows or any, apart from Ghostbusters, obviously, that inspired your paranormal?
When I was growing up, there really wasn't that much to choose from. It was, I think you had In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy, who used to play Dr. Spock. And then you had Arthur C. Clarke's program.
There was Most
that
Haunted.
was it. Most Haunted really started 2000 onwards. That's when the boom in paranormal reality television really started. And I used to watch it at the beginning, but then something sort of dawned on me. It was that time where that's when things started to get really, really popular. Like pre-2000, there were about 150 ghost hunting groups in the UK.
Yeah.
Now there's 1,200.
There was a show on telly on a Halloween that took the UK by storm. It was all fake. Do you remember what it was called? Ghost Watch. Yep. And I remember watching that, and I could not sleep all night thinking it was real.
Oh, it was incredible. That, I mean, in terms of what it did, but then that was an influence on Most Haunted.
Yeah.
You had Sarah Green, Michael Parkinson, the incredible, television presenters in that situation.
Yeah.
And that's what made it so real.
Yeah. Well, in fact, Michael Parkinson was in it. You think, oh, this guy, it's got to be real if he's in it.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. But then I work in TV now, in outside broadcasts, and I work with a lot of people who used to work on like the Most Haunted Lives. So it's interesting listening to their perspective on the shows.
What would be your dream location if you could go anywhere to like investigate? Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world. I've been on the RMS Queen Mary, and that was a stunning location. Nothing happened, but wherever I go, nothing does.
Wow.
But that was a privilege to stay on there for 48 hours. Because what I did, I went to the Fan Fest in LA, and I thought, well, while I'm there, I'll go down to RMS Queen Mary for 2 nights. So
I thought it was hard. I thought they closed it during lockdown.
Well, 2019 when I went, obviously it was pre-pandemic, and then they obviously closed it, and I'm not sure whether it's actually opening back up as a hotel. I mean, I really hope it does, because it's a superb location with so much history associated with it. Sorry?
Have they kept it nice, or is it deteriorating a little bit?
They did. It was showing its age, but that was part of the appeal.
Yeah. And the history of it as well.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
I'd like to see Alcatraz. I think that would be the one.
Alcatraz. Yeah, definitely. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Maybe stay overnight and do some. Well, I've had nearly 15 minutes of your time, but I have to ask you just a few more questions, and this will be the favoritism question, if I may.
Okay.
Hi. Right. So now this is going to be so obvious. Who is your favorite? Peter, Egon, Winston, or Ray?
Ray.
Yeah, he's pretty cool, isn't he?
I've got Dan Aykroyd's autograph from when I was 15. He replied to my letter. It's up on my wall just over there.
I keep Facebook stalking him. I do. I send him messages and that, and he doesn't reply. No, he's amazing. Is he interested in the paranormal at all? Do you know?
Very, yes. Yeah. I mean, it was, oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was his family. In fact, his dad wrote a really good book about the paranormal, and they were very much into it from a psychic background. They used to have seances and spiritualist kind of things. So he grew up on a farmhouse thinking in Canada, and he was very influenced by that from a young age. And he was a member of the American Society for Psychical Research, and so yeah, he did a lot of the stuff that's in there is born from a genuine interest.
Would you ever like to witness like like Ed and Lorraine Warren? They went on these great big things with exorcisms and like poltergeist activity. Is there anything that you can put under your belt that you've experienced like that, or not yet?
Not yet. I mean, I'm not one of these people, when you see things like Ghost Adventures and they're screaming and running around, if you're there to research it, you've got to be professional.
Yeah.
There's more to fear from the living than the dead.
That's what my nan used to say.
So you've just got to take it in your stride and document it, remain calm and collected, and document the data.
Would you be able to remain calm if something got
I've been in too many situations when I was in the police to be worried by anything like that. Yes, it's going to be unusual. The adrenaline is bound to be there, but you're there to do a job, and you have to be professionally minded and just deal with it. But I've been in plenty of places and heard strange sounds, but nothing that you would say that's paranormal. Just not explainable at that point.
If there was a situation that occurred, would you be interested in like documenting that? Obviously, you'd want to get in there and
But to me, that there's a way of documenting, and one of the things I'm particularly interested in is witness statements, because how many investigators take statements from people who've witnessed anything, and are they trained to do it is the other thing. So they trained in cognitive interviewing, all those kinds of things.
One day I'll get that opportunity. You never know.
Yeah,
that would be amazing to experience something like that, wouldn't it? Yeah,
definitely.
Oh, what did you think of Bosworth then? Did you enjoy it?
I thought it was a really good weekend. It was a great chance to network and meet lots of other people. And there were some fascinating speakers on. It was interesting listening to, the Tennessee Wraith Chasers.
Yeah.
There was 3 things that they said that day, which were like, when you're listening to someone, you go, that's the golden nugget that will go perfectly somewhere in the research that I'm doing. And there were 3 of those instances when they were talking. The first one was the fact that they said that the production company wanted a Ghostbusters like trap.
Yeah.
And it's like how Ghostbusters has influenced them or the production company to want to get something like that in the show. That was the one thing. The other thing they mentioned, they said they'd made an infrasound gun, which they hadn't. I spoke to Steve Parsons about it afterwards, and he was like, no, they didn't make an infrasound gun. They just made something that made an air pressure pulse, which is completely different.
All you can do is record evidence, really, isn't there? That's all you can do.
And then there was one other thing, and it completely escapes me what it was, but it was fascinating listening to that. And, just being able to be around lots of people who have a genuine interest in it and being able to talk to them and meet them, that was great. So we're looking forward to more.
Yeah, is there any more? I mean, I keep looking, but I'm thinking that's the first one I've ever been to, that Festival of the Unexplained. And I'm hooked, and I would love to go to something else like that. I know there's a lot in America.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going out to the States in just under 4 weeks to go to a couple of Paracons as part of the research. But I think there will be another Festival of the Unexplained possibly next year. The Haunted Antique Centre in Hinckley have just announced an event which is going on the 24th, 25th of September.
Yeah.
It's at Bosworth Hotel for the first night. And there's going to be a ghost hunt, I think. And then there's got a list of speakers on the Saturday.
Have you been to the Haunted Antiques Research Centre? Sorry, we've stayed there overnight.
I went the other week and had a meeting there with the guys who run Haunted Magazine, We had a really good chat. We spent about 3 hours just talking about stuff to do with it. And I got asked to do one of the talks on the Saturday for the event at Bosworth in September. So I'm going to be one of the guest speakers there.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's something to look forward to.
Gosh, it's exciting. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow. Guys watching, if you want to check out some of Dylan's videos, he is on YouTube on Boo TV. Also, it's www.ghosthunter.co.uk for your Ghost Hunter website, isn't it? And the other one, the Great British is too, isn't there?
Yeah, there's greatbritishghosttour.co.uk or greatamericanghost.co.uk.
And it's amazing. All you need to know about all locations and things like that, ghost hunting and white ladies, haunted bridges, haunted hotels, everything is all on there. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we really appreciate it, Dylan. You've been amazing. Learned a lot from you.
Thank you.
Like I say, I'll send you a list of our events. And if you're ever free and you want to do a bit of studying with us and see how we work, watch me mess up the K2 meter and the REM pod and how we try and gather evidence.
No, but how we learn is by engaging with others, asking questions.
Yeah.
If I don't know the answer to something, chances are I don't. But I know somebody who does. So if there's anything about equipment, the books are available. I've said it once. Get Ghostology. It's a really good book. It's a really good book for investigators. It explains everything. Doesn't tell you what to do. It gives you all the information and lets you decide.
Are you on the fence with the paranormal? Do you feel that? Do you believe, or you still?
I'm open-minded.
Open-minded.
Yeah.
Is there some things that you just can't explain?
That doesn't mean that they're paranormal. It just means we can't explain them yet.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But the thing is to be open-minded and be critical. Ask questions and see what the data gives you. What does the evidence say?
I don't really want to believe that when you're dead, though. It'll be awful just to be, that's it, you're wiped out. Nothing.
But then, it's what I mean, one of the things, the greatest achievements, people say, oh, you've done like with LA. My greatest achievements, my son.
Yeah.
That's what's left behind. That legacy, the things that you do, the things that you leave behind. And if people remember you, who knows what comes next?
Energy can't just die, though. Surely we just turn into something else. I'd like to think that anyway.
Yeah. I mean, it's a comforting feeling to think that that's what happens. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
One day I'll find out. Hopefully hopefully not too soon. I want to see at least 4 or 5 Ghostbusters. I want to see at least 4 or 5 more Ghostbusters films in my life if I can.
Yeah, definitely. I would want to come back. I'd come back and scare the hell out of everyone just for the fun of it.
I'm going to come back as an orb and annoy people. I want people to draw a red circle around me.
See your face that's floating around.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Dylan, and thank you guys for watching. And if anyone wants to go on one of our ghost hunts, we've got www.portalstotheparanormal.co.uk. Just check out our website. We've got a few down at the bottom there, as you can see. We've got a couple of sleepovers. Definitely recommend some of those. Yeah, come and check us out. And thank you very much, Dylan Jones.
Thank you.
Ciao for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.